I am your host, Welcome Walter. Dangote links power shortages in Nigeria to stolen funds hidden abroad. Europe suffers from Egypt's panic buying as it records a new diesel import high. Eswatini contradicts US claims on the parties, vows to return them to their home countries. Plus, NCC introduces 10 million naira license for bulk SMS sendings. Egypt's unrestrained diesel purchase is said to be heavily influencing the global market, notably in Europe, where supplies are becoming tighter. According to Bloomberg statistics, Egypt imported more than 370,000 barrels of diesel and gasoline per day during the first 15 days of July. This is a 65% rise over the same period last year and 35% higher than June's intake, making it the biggest volume since at least 2016. As territorial hostilities prompted Israel to stop pipeline natural gas deliveries, Egypt has substantially boosted its import of diesel in recent weeks. Against assertions by the United States that a group of deported former convicts could not be returned to their countries of origin due to the refusal by those governments. According to U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the deportees, who had been convicted of serious crimes, originated from Vietnam, Jamaica, Laos, Yemen, and Cuba. The removal marks the first instance of a third country deportation under President Donald Trump's expanded immigration enforcement strategy following a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling authorizing such transfers. In a statement, the government of Eswatini clarified that it is working with the United States and the International Organization of Migration to facilitate the deportees' return to their countries of origin. During a recent tour of the Dangote refinery in Lagos, the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, highlighted how unreasonable it is for a country of over 200 million people to be limited to 4,500 from 4,500, I beg your pardon, to 5,000 megawatts of power. The Nigerian business mogul, whose refinery and fertilizer plant are among Africa's largest, explained that his company's investment in energy demonstrates how private sector engagement in power generating can be game changing. He encouraged Nigeria's government to further open up the industry to encourage private investment and involvement. Airtel Kenya is on a roll. The telecom company just crossed 24 million subscriber mark, and for the first time it is adding new users faster than industry giant Safaricom. In the first quarter of 2025 alone, Airtel picked up 3.01 million new SIM subscribers, nearly double Safaricom's 1.7 million. That is a 13.95% jump for Airtel. According to new numbers from the Communications Authority of Kenya, it is a big milestone for a company that has long operated in Safaricom's shadow. Safaricom, still the market leader by a wide margin, saw a 3.6% growth, bringing its total subscribers to 48.2 million. The overall market is also growing. Kenya now has 76.2 million SIM subscriptions, up from 71.4 million at the end of the 2024. That's more SIM cards than people, but no surprise there, since many Kenyans use more than one line. Other telcos are holding their own too. Equitel ended the first quarter with 1.5 million subscribers, Telkom with 1.2 million, and Jami Telecommunications with around 700,000. Still, Airtel's surge is what's turning heads. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, is moving ahead with plans to build a major seaport near his fertilizer and oil refinery plant, a move aimed at easing export and powering the continued expansion of his vast industrial empire. In a recent interview in Lake State, Dangote confirmed that his group submitted paperwork in late June to begin work on what he described as the biggest deepest port in Nigeria. The proposed Atlantic seaport will be located in Olokola, Ogun State, about 100 kilometers from his massive fertilizer and petrochemical facilities in Lagos. Currently, Dangote exports fertilizer and urea through a private jetty he built near the refinery site, the same jetty that also received the heavy equipment needed for operations. The new port will help integrate logistics and export activities across the group. It could rival key facilities in Lagos, including the Chinese-backed Lekki Deep Seaport, which opened in 2023. The Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) has rolled out a new rulebook for the booming application-to-person messaging industry. In simple terms, if your business SIM send bulk SMS alerts like bank notifications or promo messages, you now need a license, and it will cost you 10 million naira for 5 years. According to NCC, the space will be tightly regulated to curb spam, reduce fraud, and plug revenue leaks in the telecom sector. A2P messaging is everywhere. Banks use it for alert, airlines for booking, update, and even hospitals and politicians rely on it to reach customers. But the space has been a bit of a free-for-all, with grey route and spam message becoming a nightmare for customers. The NCC says it's stepping into bringing order and make sure Nigerians earn from international message traffic. One major change is that international A2P messages must now pass through NCC-approved route. That means foreign companies cannot just bypass local networks to deliver SMS in Nigeria anymore. The move is also about protecting data and improving service quality, something the Commission says is critical for Nigeria's digital future. Businesses that already use automated messaging, like banks, fintech, or logistics companies, will have to either apply for a license or partner with someone who has one. While big corporations might not flinch at the 10 million naira fee, smaller players may struggle or match with license providers. Nigerian cryptocurrency exchange Roku has announced its acquisition of Flitter, a Kenya-based crypto startup, as part of its expansion into East Africa. The acquisition gives Roku immediate entry into Kenya's fintech market and marks the company's first footprint in the region. Flitter, founded in 2019, operates in Kenya, Ghana, Uganda, and Tanzania. The company allows users to buy and sell cryptocurrencies and has built a customer base through its simplified crypto transaction services. While the value of the acquisition remains undisclosed, Roku stated that Flitter's operations will be integrated into its platform. Roku has been operating since 2019 without raising external capital and the acquisition aligns with its vision to become a pan-African crypto platform. The company also claims it has received regulatory approval to operate in Kenya, although specific details of the approval had not been independently verified at the time of reporting. PUBG Mobile has become the latest global gaming giant to double down on Africa, launching local servers in Nigeria and South Africa since its launch in 2018. It is also introducing regional tournament and Africa-themed emote and game skins. This is not just the first time a gaming giant has shown interest in the African market. Call of Duty Mobile (CODM) launched its Nigerian server in 2023 and the African Cup in 2023, and now even allows Africans to participate in its $1 million Call of Duty Mobile World Championship. We'll go on a break, and when we're back, African economy continues. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. You are on to African Economy, and I'm still your host, Wang Fon Water. And now to the rest of the stories. Lipa Later, the Kenyan buy now pay later startup that stumbled into administration earlier this year, might just be getting a second shot. A venture firm focused on Kenya has made $24.5 million bid to acquire the struggling fintech. The offer made in May 2025 via a letter of intent would see Engage take over Lipa Later Tech, license, customer base, and clear some of its debt, though not the bad loans. This could be a rare redemption story in Kenya's startup scene where administration usually spells doom. If the deal goes through, Lipa Later would become one of the few African startups to claw back some value post-collapse. Founded in 2018 by Eric Mully and Michael Miner, Lipa Later was once considered one of the East Africa's most promising fintechs. It's raised over $16 million from big-name backers like Corys, Lateral Frontiers, Orbit Startups, and Founders Factory Africa. South Africa fintech startup Stitch has acquired digital payments company Efficiency Payment. This marks Stitch's second strategic acquisition in 6 months and enables it to offer card acquiring services directly to merchants as designated clearing systems participant. A raised status in South Africa. The deal strengthens Stitch's position in the payments space by enabling it to process both online and in-person card transactions without relying on intermediary acquiring banks or third-party processors. With this move, Stitch becomes one of the few fintechs in South Africa that can clear card payments end-to-end, streamlining the entire process for merchants. Nigeria's inflation rate is to 22.22% in June 2025 from 22.97% recorded in May, according to the latest Consumer Price Index (CPI) report by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). This represents a 0.75 percentage point drop on a year-on-year basis and 11.97 percentage point decline compared to the 34.19% recorded in June 2024, adding that the current reading is based on the updated base year of 2024. On a month-on-month basis, headline inflation stood at 1.68% in June 2025, slightly higher than 1.53% recorded in May, indicating a modest acceleration in the rate of average price increase within the month. The food inflation rate for June 2025 was 21.97% year on year, marking a significant 18.93 percentage point drop from the 40.87% recorded in June 2024. On a month-on-month basis, food inflation rate rose to 3.25%, up from 2.19% in May. The increase was driven by rising prices of items such as dried green peas, fresh pepper, dried white shrimps, crayfish, fresh meat, tomatoes, plantain flour, and ground pepper. The NBS cautioned that comparisons across states should be made with care as CPI weights vary based on differing consumption patterns, which may affect regional inflation measurements. Let's take a look at the chart indicating Nigeria's inflation rate. On the screen, there is that last in the last 12 months inflation rate as of June was at 34.19% and dropped to 33.4%. And in August, it stood at 32.15% and rose slightly in September to 32.7%. In December last year, it stood at 34.8% and dropped to 24.48% at the beginning of this year and dropped to 22.97%. And in June, it's witnessed a major drop at 22.22%, and that's a chart indicating Nigeria's inflation rate in the last 12 months. Nigeria's agricultural sector soared to 1.7 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2025, marking a significant 64.65% increase from the first quarter of 2024. This impressive growth was largely driven by cocoa export, which brought in over 1.2 trillion naira, primarily from standard and superior quality beans shipped to the Netherlands and Belgium. Other strong performers included cashew nuts and sesame seed. There was also notable growth in semi-processed goods like natural cocoa butter and soya flour. Additionally, non-traditional exports such as cut and ornamental flowers, along with frozen shrimps and prawns, showed increasing diversification, contributing to an expanding export base beyond a few core commodities. The strong performance in the first quarter of 2025 highlights Nigeria's growing momentum in the global agricultural market, signaling improved market penetration and a critical step towards economic diversification. The Nigerian stock market's all-share index (ASI) surged to 126,700 points in July 2025, marking its highest point in the 13-month period under review. This represents a sharp 8.6% increase from the previous month and signals growing investor confidence in the market. After months of moderate movements, this July leap is the most significant month-on-month gain since June 2024, suggesting a potential shift in market sentiment. From June 2024 through early 2025, the ASI experienced a mix of gains and losses. For instance, the index dipped in August 2024, a negative of 2.9%, and again in March 2025, a negative of 1.2%, reflecting short-term market volatility. However, it rebounded strongly in the month that followed, with consistent positive growth from April through July 2025. Lastly, in African economy, let's take a look at the US dollars against other African countries' currency. The US dollars against Nigerian naira is at 1,531.015, an appreciative point of 0.915, a percentage of 0.06. The US dollars against South African rand is at 17.8913, an appreciative point of 0.084, percentage of 0.50. The US dollars against Zambian kwacha is at 23.3800, an appreciative point of 0.2880, a percentage of 1.25. The US dollars against Egyptian pound is at 49.4300, a good appreciative point of 0.0100, a percentage of 0.02. The US dollars against Algerian dinar is at 130.488, a good appreciative point of 0.308, a percentage of 0.24. And lastly, the US dollars against Angolan kwanza is at 918.655, a depreciative point of 3.288, a percentage of a negative 0.36. That brings us to today's edition of African Economy. Thank you for watching. I am Walfon Porter. See you soon.